What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, Learn to Be Filipino. A lot of people pinned this video in my social media comments saying that I should react to this video because recently China threatened a Filipino official. And I just want to know, like, in this situation, what is the next step? What could possibly happen next? Because from what I know about the Filipino people is that they usually aren't the aggressors in any situation. I mean, I've lived here for almost 10 years and I've never seen even a fight in this country, let alone any kind of intensive verbal altercations. So Filipino people usually don't start things, but the Filipino pride I know usually finishes things. And let's be honest, if a bully at your school continues to bully that one kid over and over and over again, eventually the bully will get bullied. So let's check this out, guys. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, like this video for more content about expat news and just news in general in the Philippines.
On January 3rd, 2026, a Chinese diplomat did something almost unheard of in international relations. Deputy spokesperson Guo Wei of the Chinese embassy in Manila publicly threatened a uniformed military officer of the country he's stationed in. He told Philippine Coast Guard Commodore Jay Tarriela to stop speaking before his words do more damage than anything else ever could. It was a threat, it was unprecedented, and it violated every rule of diplomacy. But here's what makes this story explosive. China didn't threaten Tarriela because he's wrong. They threatened him because he's been exposing exactly what Beijing wants hidden. And in doing so, Guo Wei just proved that Tarriela's strategy is working. But to understand why China's diplomat lost his cool, we need to meet the man China can't silence. His name is Commodore Jay Tarriela, Philippine Coast Guard spokesman, and for the past 2 years.
Okay, so like over the years, I've been seeing a lot more information, news, and news articles about the situation that's happening in the West Philippine Sea. And, I actually have friends that live near this area, and sometimes they tell me like they can see, boats out there very close, and it's not Filipino boats. And for me, if I were to be living in that area, I would be concerned myself, especially as an expat.
Something that drives Beijing absolutely insane. He tells the truth, with receipts. Every Chinese Coast Guard vessel that harasses Filipino fishermen, he posts it. With coordinates, with photos, with exact times. Every water cannon attack, posted. Every laser weapon incident, posted. Every research vessel violating Philippine waters, posted. And it works. His posts go viral. International media picks them up. The world watches. Filipinos call him Tagapagsalita ng Bayan, the people's spokesperson. Because while China's propaganda machine churns out carefully crafted narratives, Tarriela just shows what's actually happening. China operates in shadows and ambiguity. Tarriela brings everything into the light. Beijing hates it. They've complained. They've protested. They've tried to discredit him. But Tarriela keeps posting, because every post creates an international record. Every coordinate is...
All right, another thing that I've noticed while living in this country and just being involved on social media and just being involved in the Philippine scene is that when they say Filipino pride, I mean, that is a real thing. No matter what the situation is, the Filipino people stick together, and through any adversity that you may see in this country, that you may see on the news and Filipino people are dealing with, my God, they really deal with the adversity. They stick together, and even if one person needs help, they all contribute and they overcome adversity together as a nation, which is so admirable, so commendable, and I think that the people in this country are a good example of a perfect patriot.
Evidence. Every photo is proof. He's turned social media into a weapon, and China has no defense against transparency. But on Christmas Day 2025, China tried something new, and it backfired spectacularly. December 25th, 2025, Christmas Day. A Chinese Navy destroyer approaches a Filipino fisherman in the South China Sea. Chinese state media quickly published the story. A heartwarming tale of Chinese sailors providing humanitarian aid, water and biscuits to a stranded Filipino fisherman who had been adrift for 3 days. The message was clear. China is a good neighbor. China cares about Filipino lives. China is the hero. There was just one problem. The fisherman had written, "Help me."
Another thing I want to say is that if you know anything about the Philippines, everybody's on social media. whether that's Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. Everybody has a social media here. And the information that circulates in this country is daily and constant. So things like this, situations like this, and I think that the Filipino people, they are in the lead when it comes to any kind of information. So all of the stuff that's happening in this country, no matter what the situation is, it's all documented information on social media. And I think that it's good that anytime there's any conflict or problem, that the information is public so that everybody in the world can know what's happening in this situation.
On a piece of styrofoam, not because he needed water, because he was frightened when a Chinese warship approached him. Jay Tarriela exposed the whole story. The fisherman wasn't stranded for 3 days. He'd been out less than 24 hours, and the incident didn't happen in international waters. It happened 71 nautical miles inside the Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone. Tarriela called it what it was, a propaganda stunt. China trying to manufacture a positive narrative while operating illegally in Philippine waters. Beijing was furious. Their carefully staged humanitarian moment had been dismantled in real time, and worse, the international media believed Tarriela, not China's state propaganda. China's embassy in Manila had a problem. Their propaganda wasn't working, and one Filipino officer was the reason why. 5 days later, they escalated. December 30, 2025. The Philippine Coast Guard detects a Chinese research vessel, Tansuo Hao, operating 24 nautical miles off the coast of Cagayan. The Coast Guard makes multiple radio challenges. The vessel ignores every single one. Tarriela posts it. Name of the vessel, exact coordinates, timeline, evidence. And that's when Guo Wei stepped in. The Chinese embassy's deputy spokesperson fired back on social media. His argument? The vessel had the right of innocent passage under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS. It's a real international law. Ships can pass through another country's waters if they're not doing anything hostile. But Tarriela destroyed the argument with one post. It is disingenuous to invoke UNCLOS as a shield for innocent passage while conveniently ignoring its fundamental provisions. The irony was brutal. China was citing UNCLOS, the same international law they rejected when a 2016 tribunal ruled against their South China Sea claims. China wants international law when it helps them, ignores it when it doesn't, and Tarriela made sure everyone saw it. But something else was happening beneath the surface. A Philippine Navy report released that same month showed China had shifted from intermittent support to a persistent deterrent posture in 2025. Translation: China was escalating, more vessels, more incidents, more aggression, and Guo Wei, he was losing every public argument with a Coast Guard spokesman. That's when he crossed the line. January 3rd, 2026, Guo Wei posted a direct message to Jay Tarriela. Stop spreading misinformation and disinformation, misleading the public and deliberately fueling hostility between the Chinese and Filipino peoples, before your words do more damage than anything else ever could. This wasn't a diplomat making a counter-argument. This was a threat from a foreign government representative to a uniformed officer of his host country. The Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations has clear rules. Diplomats must respect the laws and dignity of their host country. They're supposed to promote friendly relations. Diplomats don't publicly attack host nation officials. And Tarriela knew it. His response was surgical. He questioned whether Guo Wei's behavior conforms with the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations. Translation: you're a diplomat behaving like a thug, and that's against the rules you're supposed to follow. The Philippine government could have declared Guo Wei persona non grata, expelled him. The Chinese embassy wasn't just harassing fishermen anymore. They were threatening a military spokesman. China's embassy tried to walk it back, but the damage was done. And Tarriela? He kept posting, because Guo Wei's threat proved something critical. Here's what China doesn't want you to understand. Their entire South China Sea strategy relies on ambiguity and intimidation operating in grey zones where it's hard to prove what they're doing. Militia vessels that look like fishing boats, Coast Guard ships that claim they're just patrolling, research vessels that happen to be collecting intelligence. It works when nobody's watching closely, when nobody documents it. But Jay Tarriela documents everything, with coordinates, with photos, with timestamps, and he posts it where the whole world can see. No classified reports, no diplomatic cables, just public evidence anyone can verify. The Filipino public waters posted, and it works. His posts go viral. International media picks them up. The world watches. Filipinos call him Tagapagsalita ng Bayan, the people's spokesperson, because while China...
All right, so what do you guys think about this situation? I personally think it's funny in the sense that I remember back in junior high school, there was this one bully. He always used to bully everybody that was smaller than him. But of course, when he finally tried to bully someone that was as big as he was, that's when everything stopped. The bullies never last long. Bullies always get dealt with. And then that's just a reality. And as we can see in the world, bigger countries targeting smaller countries, I just think is very shallow. And I think I feel for the people in the Philippines. Like, I have two sons born in the Philippines, so I have some sort of kind of pride towards situations where Filipinos are being mistreated. And it kind of gets to me a little bit. Of course, I try to keep my opinions at bay. Of course, there are very sensitive situations we shouldn't talk about. But all I know is that I know that the people in this country will prevail when it comes to patriotism, sticking together, and just the Filipino pride. Because how long will it take for someone to pick on someone smaller until that smaller person fights back? And I don't mean physically, I just mean pride. Because as I told you guys, I don't know Filipinos as being confrontational. So I don't think the Philippines will fight back in any kind of situation physically with anybody. But they do fight back with their spirit, their pride, and their unity. And that's just something that I've picked up along the years, and I've been able to implement that into my internal personal being. So let me know, guys, what you think in the comments below. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, like this video for more expat news or just news in general about the Philippines. Peace.
Know you used to love me. I know you got someone else.